Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more powerful real-life stories like this one. I never thought love could fade so quietly. People always imagine it ends with shouting, slammed doors, and tears. But sometimes, it dies while two people still sit side by side at the same table, scrolling through their phones pretending everything's perfectly fine. My name's Daniel, I'm 36, and I live just outside Denver. I met Leah 5 years ago at a friend's barbecue. Back when her laughter still sounded real, not rehearsed. She was the kind of woman who made you believe you'd finally found the one sharp, funny, magnetic. The kind of person you can't look away from. That first year with her felt like magic. I'd never felt so seen, so completely understood. She used to laugh at how serious I could be. "You overthink everything," she'd say, nudging my shoulder with that mischievous grin. "That's why I like you. You care too much." But somewhere down the line, that same caring started to annoy her. It crept in slowly, first a snide comment, then a sigh when I asked a simple question. If I mentioned how she'd been canceling plans lately, or spending more nights out than in, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Relax, Daniel. You're not my warden." I kept convincing myself it was just stress, work pressure, life. Anything but what it really was, distance. The first rail crack appeared one Friday night. She came home late, smelling faintly of gin and someone else's cologne. I asked if she'd been drinking. She didn't even bother to hide her irritation. "God, you sound like my dad," she snapped, kicking off her heels. That night, I lay in bed beside her, staring at the ceiling while she slept. Something inside me shifted. It wasn't jealousy, it was the kind of clarity you never ask for but can't ignore once it arrives. Weeks passed. Our conversations grew shorter. The laughter disappeared. The silence between us stretched further than any words we still tried to say. I did everything I could to fix it, date nights, weekend trips, even couples therapy. She showed up twice, then said, "This isn't helping anything." Maybe she was right. Maybe by then nothing could. Then came that night, the one that changed everything. It was just a regular Tuesday. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, half smiling at something on the screen. I asked if she wanted to order dinner. She didn't even look up. "Daniel," she said, almost laughing, "it's funny how you still think we're a couple." I froze, waiting for her to say she was joking. She didn't. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. She shrugged lightly. "Come on. We barely talk. We barely touch. You really think this is still a relationship?" Her voice wasn't angry, it was worse. Casual. Cold. Like she was commenting on the weather. Something broke inside me then. Not anger, not heartbreak, just acceptance. I stood up, walked into the bedroom and opened the closet. Her side was still full, clothes, shoes, perfume bottles gathering dust. I started packing everything into suitcases. Slowly. Calmly. No shaking hands. No yelling. She followed me after a moment, standing at the doorway, confused. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer until I zipped the last suitcase shut. "You said we're not a couple," I told her quietly. "So your things are packed. You can go." Her eyes widened. "Daniel, stop being dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic," I said evenly. "I'm being done." Her face went pale. She gave a small, nervous laugh, but I didn't join in. There's a strange calm that comes when you finally accept what someone's been showing you for months. I carried the suitcases to the door. She stood there with her arms crossed, staring like she didn't recognize me anymore. "You're really doing this?" she whispered. "I'm just finishing what you started," I said. For the first time in months, she had no clever comeback. Just silence. She grabbed her keys and phone, muttered something under her breath and walked out. The sound of the door closing didn't hurt. It sounded like peace. And peace can be loud when you've been living in quiet chaos for too long. That night, I sat on the same couch where she'd mocked me earlier. The same light from the TV flickered across the room. Only now there was no scent of her perfume, no clicking of her phone, just the hum of the refrigerator and the steady rhythm of my own breathing. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the problem. I just felt free. The next morning, the house was still silent, but not empty. It felt lighter. Like the air finally had room to move again. I made coffee and sat by the window, watching sunlight climb over the fence. It's strange how peace can feel foreign when you've spent years living in tension. My phone buzzed once. Her name flashed across the screen. I didn't answer. She didn't leave a message. By noon, guilt started whispering. Maybe you overreacted, maybe she didn't mean it. But then I heard her voice in my head again. Funny how you still think we're a couple. No, I hadn't overreacted. I had finally reacted. That weekend I cleaned the house, not angrily but carefully, almost gently. Every drawer, every corner, every memory. It felt like reclaiming my own space after being a guest in it for too long. In one drawer I found a note she'd written years ago, tucked inside an old photo album. You make me feel safe. I looked at her handwriting for a long time before throwing it away, not out of spite but acceptance. Some words are only true for a season. A few days later she texted again. Can we talk? I stared at the screen, coffee in hand. Curiosity won. I told her she could come by that evening. When she arrived she looked different, less confident, maybe tired. She didn't come inside right away. Just stood on the porch with folded arms. Daniel, she said softly. I didn't mean what I said. You know that, right? I exhaled slowly. You meant it enough to say it. Her eyes darted away. I was just angry. Angry at what? I asked. At me still believing we were worth saving? She didn't answer, just stared down at her shoes. The silence stretched again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was clear. I don't hate you, Leah, I said quietly. I just can't keep pretending this feels like love. Something flickered behind her eyes, regret, maybe, or fear. You really want me to go? She whispered. I already did, I said. You just didn't notice. She tried to smile like the old Leah would have, but it didn't reach her eyes. She nodded once, turned and walked back to her car. No tears. No dramatic goodbye. Just the quiet understanding that what we had ended long before that night. When the door closed again, I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt still. That night I went for a drive. The city lights blurred through the rain, and for the first time in months, I caught myself humming along to the radio. It wasn't happiness, it was relief. In the weeks that followed, people asked what had happened. I told them the truth in as few words as possible. We stopped being kind. Because that's how love really dies. Not with betrayal or screaming matches, but with small cruelties that pile up quietly until that's all that's left. I started going back to the gym, meeting old friends again, learning to fill the silence without needing someone else there. Every day I missed her a little less. Not because she was a terrible person, but because I was learning to live without needing her approval. 2 months later she sent one last message. I hope you're okay. I read it 3 times before replying. I am. That was the last thing we ever said to each other. Sometimes I still remember her laugh, the way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. But those memories don't sting anymore. They just remind me of a man who tried and a woman who stopped. If I've learned anything, it's this. Love can survive almost anything. Distance, time, even mistakes. But it can't survive mockery. The moment someone starts treating your devotion like a joke, they've already walked away. Now, when I look around my quiet house, I don't see emptiness. I see space for peace, for clarity, for someone who won't laugh at the fact that I still believe in commitment. And if Leah ever wonders what happened, I hope she remembers this. I didn't throw her out in anger. I just stopped living like a guest in my own home. Because sometimes the strongest words you can say aren't I love you or I forgive you. They're simply your things are packed. Get out. And when the door finally closes, you don't hear goodbye. You hear freedom.